stop sharing.
You being here as always, and as we wrap up another week, there's plenty to get to between 1 and 4 p.m. today. So let me just tell you about what we have working for this first hour together. So we anticipate seeing Senator Dick Durbin in North Lawndale. There's an event there bringing the community together to shine a light on some of the small businesses in North Lawndale, and that should be around 1:45. If it does happen around that time, we will try to take that so that you can see what's happening there and the announcement that they are making there. Also around 1:30, we are going to have a conversation, very, very important conversation with a representative from Meta. No, if Meta doesn't sound familiar to you, think about Instagram, think about Facebook. Okay, so Meta is the parent company of both, and there has been an increasing push, growing calls for social media sites to have more controls for parents. As we give you a look around the studio right now, it is Friday, everyone. So we've got some cameras moving around here, but all right. So we do anticipate a conversation with a representative from Meta about the parental controls that they are trying to institute to give parents a better grasp of keeping your children safe online. There's so much discussion about this. We've seen too many tragedies for sure, and many cases that have ended up in court, and so now we come to a place where they're instituting some solutions, and we're going to talk to them about the latest step and where they go from here, because honestly, one step is probably never enough for how far things have gone. Also, we are going to pull in our drone team here at Fox Chicago to give us a look of what they do on a regular basis. Now, there are so many restrictions for what they do. I mean, they're able to do a great job for us. We call on them to do a lot around here so that we can get a bird's eye view when we don't have the chopper, or even in addition to the chopper sometimes. But they have a lot of restrictions, federal restrictions, on where they can send the drone and what they can do with the drone. And it's not just them, of course. If you think about how many drones are out there, how many people are operating drones, this is a far greater conversation. And we just saw an incident that took place in one state that called this back up to our recollection as to a way that we could have them in the show today to talk about airspace safety. With so many more drones than there used to be 5, 10, and definitely 20 years ago, we're now having this conversation, and we're going to talk to our experts here at Fox Chicago about that. But first, we want to get to a celebration, really, that's happening. Can you believe that Pokémon is 30? We were having a discussion about this earlier in the newsroom, and it feels a little odd to say that Pokemon is 30, but it is the 30th anniversary year, and there will be plenty of things that will be happening, of course, to celebrate 30 years of Pokemon. That's a little past my time, but today is International Pokemon Day, and there's a Pokemon Go Fest that's returning to Grant Park in June. I want to bring in Janet Kong, the project manager of Pokemon Fossil Museum at the Field Museum, to talk a little bit more about what they're doing to celebrate. Hi there.
Hey, happy Pokemon Day.
Happy Pokemon Day. As I said, this is a level of excitement for things, is what I was hearing in the newsroom, that I'm like, really? I didn't know. I didn't know that people would be so excited about it. So tell me about what makes people so connected to Pokemon.
I think it's a world that can totally enfold you because there are so many fantastical creatures, but there's enough in the Pokemon world that relates to our own real world that it makes you want to keep exploring on your own and with your friends.
Mm-hmm. And that sense of exploration then takes us to the Field Museum for fossils. Explain that.
Yeah. So I work at the Field Museum, and we're creating an exhibition that compares a special category of Pokemon called fossil Pokemon with dinosaurs and animals that are even older than dinosaurs. We're the perfect place to tell you about the relationships between Pokemon characters and dinosaurs and these older creatures, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love the Field Museum, and you do become a kid again there, just kind of looking around at, yes, at the fossils that are there, but I just never would have connected it with Pokemon myself.
Got it. Yep, there are over 1,000 Pokemon creatures, but there's a special category of them, and we're going to feature 27 of them in our show. So we won't have all of your favorite Pokemon, but the cool ones that we will have will be ones that in the Pokemon world, in whether you play with trading cards or screen-based games, you can start out with a fossil, like a rock, and evolve them into different kinds of Pokemon creatures. And we are going to have large sculptural representations of these creatures that you can interact with.
And I'm seeing Excavator Pikachu will be a part of this.
That's right. It's a he's Excavator Pikachu will be there. He'll be egging us all on to keep exploring, to find out about fossil Pokemon, and also point out ways to launch you in the real world, to be discovering things in our world that are in some ways more fantastical and wonderful even than the Pokemon world.
And let's talk a little bit about that because obviously this is a celebration of Pokemon Day, and we'll go through the summer with more celebrations. But year round, the Field Museum is always a place to just get an education and exploration of things that are, if you think about before these buildings and before all of the people were around here, the things that were here before us.
Before our building, before us. Yeah. I don't know if you can see in the background, but here's Sue, a Tyrannosaurus Rex that lived 65 million years ago in what's now South Dakota. So, yeah, wandering around the Field Museum, you can understand that, wow, T-Rexes were wandering around 65 million years ago in the Midwest. And sometime after that, there were rhinoceroses running around Kansas. This is stuff that you don't have to think about as educational. You can walk around the museum and explore on your own through different places and different times.
And even in that, I have come out to the Field Museum and I've seen obviously present day exhibitions as well, even fashion. I mean, you guys really cover it all.
Oh, I'm glad you brought up exhibitions about fashion because I think it's a wonderful way to think about people and cultures, and they've been some of my favorite exhibitions to work on myself. There are so many different entry points into thinking about how people live around the world and throughout time. We actually have a lot of clothes in our own exhibition. I mean, in our own collections. We don't think of ourselves as a fashion museum or a museum of clothing, but we've got quite a lot from cultures from all over the world.
And it seems like you all really put an emphasis on trying to make sure that the exhibitions feel immersive.
That's true. That's true. Even if there isn't a lot of media pushing at you, or there aren't always gadgets to manipulate, we do want to enfold you into stories and enfold you into worlds that are here now on our Earth, or have been in our Earth, or in cultures far away. There are a lot of ways that you can immerse yourselves in the stories at the Field Museum.
Tell me about the work that it takes to have all of those different experiences.
Well, let me tell you about the exhibition called Pokemon Fossil Museum that's going to open on Memorial Day weekend. Um, to create that exhibition with collaborators, we worked with Museum of Nature and Science in Tokyo and Pokemon Corporation, whose headquarters are in Tokyo. There was a wildly popular tour of the Pokemon Fossil Museum exhibition throughout Japan. It was called the Pokemon Kaseki Hakabutsukan, and it broke records all across Japan. And when one of our paleontologists went over to Japan and saw this, she knew that it would be just so great for audiences at the Field Museum. So we work with them to bring a version to the Field Museum and to North America. It takes a large village to create an exhibition, a large, crazy, argumentative village to create an exhibition here at our museum.
When they are, across seas in another country and thinking about where to place this types of exhibition, how do they say, you know what, in Chicago, that Field Museum, that's the place to be?
Well, gotta brag a little bit. We've got the dinosaurs. We've got the dinosaurs. We've got the fossils. And we will be showing a really a great selection of fossils to compare with these Pokemon creatures that are based on real world creatures from dinosaur times and before. Just one example. In real ancient times, there was an apex predator called Anomalocaris, and it had claws on the front of its face. That is probably the inspiration for a Pokemon called Anorith, if you've ever seen that in one of your cards or games. So you'll be able to see, what are they the same? Are they different? You'll be able to compare them in the exhibition.
I'm sitting here and I know that my mother, who is a Jurassic Park fiend,
Oh.
is looking behind you and just like, oh my gosh, I've got to get there. But so we know that this exhibition is going to be May 22nd through April 11th for the Pokemon Fossil Museum. Anything else that you want to tell us about what people can experience there, or just about the excitement that's building for this moment?
What I really love about this exhibition is that it's going to be an intergenerational experience. And actually, the kids or the younger people can be the experts in the gallery. So they can take people who are my age around in the gallery and explain a lot of what's going on in the Pokemon world. So we've created lots of moments where I feel that we can let young people be the experts and explain what's going on. It'll be full of colors. It'll be full of science content that I guess we sneak in there. But if you don't want to be educational, you can just have a wonderful time with your family in this exhibition.
There's the entertainment factor there too. Thank you so much, Janet. Tell Sue we said goodbye, and
Will do.
and we'll see you next time. All right.
Thank you. See you.
Oh goodness, it's about 1:15, everyone, and that is super cool for sure. I honestly, I'm going back to where I started with this. I did not know that we had some like super Pokemon fans in the newsroom. So I know they have already marked this day, this day, Pokemon Day, and also this exhibition start time, May 22nd, on their calendars. But we certainly hope that you will too. The Field Museum is a wonderful place to be year round. Always thinking of ways to bring people in to experience new things. Let's get in a 2-minute break and we'll be right back. right, welcome back, everyone. It's about 1:17 right now, and there are often conversations about the growing presence of drones in society, where we see them and they're used for many different things, many different agencies and people who use them. Just recently, there was an incident that brought a conversation about the airspace safety to mind. The U.S. military actually ended up using a laser to shoot down what seemed at the moment like a threatening drone. If you think about our U.S.-Mexico relations over the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty tense, And so they shot down a drone, but it turned out it was actually with CBP, which is Customs and Border Patrol. It was actually our own government's drone, the FAA taking out the CBP's drone. So it got us to thinking about, again, airspace safety and the fact that you have so many more drones and how things could be, could look one way but be mistaken for something else, and the fact that there are so many restrictions already for those who use drones. Will there be more? We shall see. Now listen, here at our station we actually have a drone team that goes up, and we talk to them often off air about the airspace restrictions that they're already under. But we wanted to have this conversation with you all too, again, especially since this is becoming a more frequent conversation. So I want to bring in our drone team now here at Fox Chicago. Ed Flynn, Todd Gartner. I occasionally call them Ted because they're together so often. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right.
Yeah, happy Friday.
I think immediately back in terms of this conversation about airspace safety, I think about you all's restrictions during the DNC. I mean, there were so many restrictions on you all. Was that, obviously that's a situation where you would expect more restrictions, but is it pretty tight on a regular basis?
I think for us, it all depends. It all depends on what the situation is going on in the city. Both of us, from the very beginning years ago, we had to take a test through the FAA and pass the test, and then every 2 years we have to retake the test to remain current through the FAA. And then, on a daily basis, it just varies. For the DNC, it was a lot different because there were so many dignitaries in town that time. So we were kind of at the mercy of the FAA and the federal rules as far as flying. But on a daily basis, here we are just south of Balboa, right in front of Grant Park area, right? And we've already done I guess we can kind of take you through a little bit what we would do in a normal flight day. We already did our pre-flight checkout or checklist, which basically, we before we even take off, we have to determine where we are, where we're going to take off, where we're going to land, and if we can even do that through the FAA. So
yeah, one of the challenging things that we face is we're between two major international airports too. So depending on where we're at, we have to be really conscious of manned aircraft in the area.
Sure. Another thing is we're right down the street from Soldier Field. If there was a Bears game today, we would not be able to fly an hour before the game or an hour after the game up to 3 miles from that specific event. So there's a lot of restrictions with flying. But I'm going to go ahead. We already did our pre-flight checklist, so I'm going to take off a little bit while we keep talking.
Yeah, we're going to give you a little shot of the drone.
We're going to show you some
Todd's
view
role
shots.
right now is he's the pilot in command, and I'm the visual observer. So I'll keep my eye on the drone the entire flight, while Todd will be focusing on the photography of the drone, so we can get the shot that you guys need for your stories to tell throughout the day. So we figured we'd do a nice simple one of the skyline for you.
All right, going down, going in the bubble.
So like right now, we do not fly over vehicles. We do not fly over trains. We do not fly over any people. So for the most part, we have to be really conscious where we're going. So if we're going to go over a street, we got to make sure that street is vacant at the time that we cross it. So there's a lot of that stuff that comes into play. And really the big thing is no flying over people. It's just not allowed.
How hard is that, though?
If we're doing a story with you.
Going back that way.
Say that again?
How hard is that in a city like Chicago?
That is the challenge.
Yeah, it depends. And like right now, we chose a spot right by the park where we could fly. We've been here many times. We've flown here many times. We know not to go over the roads. We know not to go over people. We have Lakeshore Drive that we're not gonna fly over any traffic or anything like that. So it just all depends on where we are and the situation as far as people are concerned, it's a nice day today. It's a little bit warmer, so there are a few people out on foot, so we have to be very conscious of that.
And you can see I have my back to you because the drone is behind Todd, so I have to be able to stay with it the whole time. So that becomes a challenge because the drone always has to stay within our line of sight.
180.
So if it ever gets out of our sight, we need to get it back into the area where we can see it. And we also can only fly a maximum in this area of 400 feet high. So we are not allowed to go any higher than that anywhere. When we get closer to the airport, oftentimes, Anita, we may only be able to fly 100 feet high.
Oh, wow.
So we do have limitations as we get near airspace, especially controlled manned airspace.
Right now I'm at about 225 feet. So
And like
I do
for-
have another 150 to go if I
For
want to. Go
for
ahead.
a commercial flight, they have to have a flight plan that's submitted. I mean, do you
Yep.
all do you see other drones out there as you're flying? What is that experience like? What you're seeing?
Sometimes we do. If there's other events where we're legally allowed to fly and we're certified to fly, a lot of times there are maybe drones in the area who may not be certified to fly. So that's why the beauty of the visual observer, kind of scanning the sky, making sure that they know where our drone is, along with possibly other drones too, and just keeping the pilot informed that there may be other drones in the area, and you just want to keep an eye on it.
And we also have to watch out another thing that around here, because we have Chicago Fire and Chicago Police. If their helicopter goes up, we have to take immediate action to get the drone at a really low elevation, because they can fly at any level or anywhere that they need to go. So if we hear a helicopter in the distance, I'll let Todd know and say, hey, I've got my eye on it. Let's get the drone down so that manned aircraft can safely get out of our airspace, or us out of their airspace, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, you all being with the television station, you're aware of those things. You are responsive to those things. Is it a little frustrating when you do see some that are, that maybe it's a hobbyist that doesn't necessarily know the things that you do?
It can be frustrating, yes, because we definitely follow the rules very closely, and we don't want there to be any sort of incident that maybe will put our flight in jeopardy, other people's flights in jeopardy, people's safety in jeopardy. We just don't want, we never want anything to happen. So, I mean, there's only so much you can do. You try to tell people when you're out and about and you do see some maybe unauthorized flying, you might want to remind them that it's not the best idea, but there's only so much we could do. We just have to err on the side of caution and be careful of our flying around those other drones.
And with social media, you see it all the time. With people posting, and they're flying well above 400 feet, you could tell, or they're flying over trains or people or events. And they've shut down events because drones have shown up. And there was a football game not too long ago where they did. And so we take it very seriously, Todd and I.
Yeah.
The pilot in command has complete authority to shut the flight down at any moment.
And that also has to do with weather. If for whatever reason it's too windy, if there's any sort of precipitation, flurries, sprinkles, anything like that, we don't fly. We just don't want to take that risk. Nothing really is worth taking that much of a risk to fly if there's a possibility of something going wrong.
Battery.
Yeah. What is the risk when you talk about wind? I mean, this isn't something where people are on board. So is the risk just that you would lose the equipment?
It's the lose the equipment. It's if there is a technical issue, you could have a drone just go rogue and fly away, and there's a possibility of it hitting someone or a car, or landing somewhere you just don't want it. So you just but when we talk about the pre-flight checklist, we look at things like battery health. We look at things like the drone health itself, making sure everything has a green light and is ready to go. If anything looks slightly off or I don't know, just questionable, then we shut it down.
And strong winds can really drain the battery.
Yep. Cold weather.
If you got to get a lot of video, it may not be the right time to fly, because if the drone is fighting the wind the entire time, it makes it really difficult to get the shots you need.
Now, let me ask you this. Are the restrictions different, or is your approach to things different if it's dark outside, if it's nighttime?
Yep, we actually we're also night flight certified, which is a whole separate test we have to go through. But you change your approach as far as setting up your mission. You go basically during the day to map out your mission and your moves and everything you want to do, so you can see everything clearly during the day. And then at night we come back, we fly the exact same mission. We use special lights and beacons on the drone itself, so that there's it's really visual. I mean, you can see these things miles away. But yeah, we equip the drone with special lights for us, for other people to see. And yeah, that's a good question. We definitely take a different approach to the night flying.
Yeah, and we really want to make sure at night that we follow a firm pattern and we replicate what we did during the day, so that nothing changes. And then, like Todd said, we put these strobes on them, and it's so that other aircraft can see us too. We don't want them not knowing that we're up in the air. So it's about, aircraft, like you had asked earlier about other drones. A lot of times if we go to a big event and we know there's other drones, we might talk to the other drone pilots and say, hey, what elevation are you going to be at? Because we're going to be over in this area here at about 250 feet. Going left to right, is that going to interfere with what you're doing? And also, if we go to a crime scene and the law enforcement has drones, we stay away from them.
Right.
If we know they're doing their work, but we still have to get our shots, just like a ground camera crew, we stay away from them, let them do their job, and we can still gather with the lenses that we have on these cameras as much video as we need.
60.
Yeah, and when you mentioned battery health, I mean, how much flying can you do on a battery charge?
So typically with these drones that we're using, I mean, I think the maximum flight time is around 35 minutes. We go by percentages, so we like to come back and land right around 40. We don't like to be out any higher than 40%. So I would say, I'm not great at math, but that's probably like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that, max. And obviously that changes with the cold weather. If it's colder,
In the wind.
then in the wind, you're fighting the wind. So a couple factors play into that as far as the battery health.
Really interesting. And I would love to get you all's opinions of the drone deliveries, or the many different ways drones are used now.
It's an interesting technology. Obviously we love it because we're immersed in it every day, but I don't know. The delivery thing I think is a great idea, but it all depends on people on the ground, right? Just like anything, people can tamper with anything, whether it's a car delivering something or a drone delivering something. So the idea is great. Hopefully it's something that sticks. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We
It's
talk about
exciting.
it. We do talk about it a lot because, like, how do you get a package to someone's doorstep? That'd be really hard to do, and now you got, if you think about all the different delivery services, imagine just thousands of these up in the air. I mean, it would have to go to some form of real regulation for sure.
Well, this was a really cool interview, and we certainly always appreciate what you all do. Thanks for taking flight for us here on Chicago Live.
Of course.
And our friend wants to say hello.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my goodness, that is so cool. Thanks for what you do, guys, and joining us today.
All right. Thanks, Anita. Have a good day.
Ed and Todd, what a duo. Thank you. It's 1:30, and they were right outside of the Field Museum. We were inside a few moments ago, then took you outside so that you could get a full view of everything around. And it is a nice day to take a full view. In fact, we'll talk later on about the weather because, we have to savor it before it changes. But let's go ahead and get in a 2-minute break, everybody, and we'll proceed on with our conversations here. Welcome back, everyone. It's 1:33 right now, and there have been so many instances where you just wonder what more needs to be done to help young people who are just exploring themselves, exploring what's out there in terms of social media and the online space, the online world, but what that exposes them to, what age you should allow them to access it, in what ways they should be able to access it. I mean, it's a hard time for parents. It is a hard time for parents, and this is just a different generation. And so some things kind of get out there before, and then we have to react to them instead of the proactive steps, because it is a ever-changing landscape, really, for parents and guardians out there today of young people who will inevitably find themselves online. Kira Wong O'Connor with Meta is joining me now, as they've just rolled out some new parental controls alerts that should, at least, in a lot of ways, be able to help parents who are struggling to navigate it all. Thank you so much for your time. Kira, can you hear me? It's Anita Blanton.
Yes, Anita, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, yes. And I was just saying that you all have rolled out some new alerts at Meta, some new parental controls to try to help parents who struggle to navigate this landscape.
Yeah, I'm sorry, as tech would have it, of course, my Zoom cut out immediately as you were doing the intro, but I did hear what you're saying around, it's a lot for parents to take on in terms of knowing what's out there and the tools that are available to help keep their teens safe while on social media. And one of the things we just announced yesterday was the fact that now on Instagram, we will be letting parents who are enrolled in supervision, we'll be notifying them if their teen searches anything related to suicide or self-harm within a short period of time. And these alerts are going to be sent to parents via text message, WhatsApp, or in an email, depending on what information the parent gives to us, but also within the Instagram app. And to your point, we're really hoping that this is just a continuation of all of the tools and features that we have to keep young people safe, but also to help parents have a better understanding of what their teen is doing when on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so tough. I mean, one, again, knowing the age that they should even have these accounts, and what are the regulations there now?
Yeah, so for an Instagram, you need to be 13 years or older to join. So that's for Instagram. And of course, if 13 is the right age for you and your family, that's a conversation that we're really encouraging parents to have in terms of what's right for you and your family, what's the right age to join. But again, to join Instagram, you need to be 13 years or older. However, I'm not sure if you or any of your viewers are aware, but we do have Instagram teen accounts now, which means that anyone under the age of 18, so anyone between 13 and 17, is going to be put into what we call Instagram teen accounts. And this means by default, you're going to have safety protections without parents having to do anything, which is, really built with kind of giving parents that peace of mind that they know when their teen is on Instagram, without them having to lift a finger, the teen is going to have a private account by default. They're going to be limited who they can contact, limited to who they can DM, and they're going to be put into really safe, age-appropriate settings for teens, which would be age-appropriate for 13-plus viewing.
Which kind of fits into the pledge that a lot of parents are taking, the wait till 8th, that would be right around that age that young people are turning around 13 years old. Let me ask you this. I mean, how do you verify, how do you make sure that the teen space is only occupied by teens?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, whenever we talk about Instagram teen accounts, people are like, right, this sounds great, but how do you actually make sure that you know how old a teen is? So, of course, we on sign up make sure that we're asking people how old they are. And so that's what we call stated age. So you can put in how old you are. But, when we built Instagram teen accounts, we knew that some teens potentially would think about misrepresenting their age. So we've built tools using AI to ensure that we're able to to use age prediction methods to be able to tell, with different signals on the accounts that they follow, the kinds of contact they're interacting with, that maybe you're not the age that you say you are. So we can put you through the age verification check. And also we do have the ability, if you sign up to Instagram and you say you're 16 at first, but then you try and change your age to over 18 to get out of the Instagram teen account defaults, we will then again be able to send you through an age verification process. So we are, continuing to build on our AI tools to help with this, but we do have a number of different ways in order to be able to tell that the user is the age that they say they are.
Yeah, because I think about, the fake idea, of old.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there are just so many ways that teens can get into things, or even younger, can get into things that maybe took a little more work for those of us of older generations. It is a scary prospect for many adults who are raising or caring for young people. And you mentioned that this is a continuum. This is a part of the solution. Tell me about some of the other things that you all are trying to do, because even when I think of a teen space, right, I think of the issues of bullying. If maybe the teen hasn't gone into a chat that or searched for these keywords associated with self-harm or suicidal ideation, but maybe the bullying that's happening in a teen space could send them there. Are there any types of signals that could say to a parent, like, we're on the wrong road, that could head to this?
Yeah, so I think you brought up a really good point. Of course, with this update, we're talking about self-harm and self-injury, and this isn't the vast, majority of teens are not having this experience, they're not searching for this, but we do want to create tools that allow parents to have this information if they do. But to your point on bullying and other different ways that potentially, I know parents worry a lot about bullying. I am a parent myself, and it's something that I think about, not just online, but, in school and in the real world too. But we do have a number of tools within the teen accounts. One of them is hidden words. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all, but these are tools that allow us to prevent young people from seeing certain words that we know have been reported a lot that may be offensive. We also have the ability for teens and their parents to go in and put in certain words that they may not want to see on their experience on Instagram. So for example, I'm from Hawaii originally, and there are words in Hawaiian that I may not want to see, but other people aren't aware of, or Instagram isn't aware of, that I'd like to block. So hidden words is really great for that. We also have tools like block, reporting, and restrict to ensure that, teens can really control their experience when on Instagram, so they aren't engaging with content or with people or accounts that they don't want to engage with.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Meta has faced several lawsuits over the last several years, as again, we as a society kind of catch up to where the technology is and what is happening to our young people in terms of the things that they are seeing, people they are communicating with, and the impression that is making on their lives. What are some other ways that you all are working to either monitor or actually take action on the issues that are being faced?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a part of my full-time job. I'm on the youth safety policy team, so my entire work is focused around how we make sure that young people are safe, and that we're listening to the latest research, that we're listening to experts, that we're listening to teens and parents themselves. And so a part of the thing that we do on the team is that we have expert advisory groups. An example with this SSI notification we just launched is we work closely with our suicide and self-injury expert group, with our youth advisory council, with our safety advisory council, which is a group full of people who are researchers, academics, experts in the online safety field, who let us know about the latest research, what they're seeing on the ground in terms of different trends, and give us information and feedback on products and policies that we're building to ensure that we're trying to look around corners best we can to see any trends, so that we can think about how our products and policies should reflect keeping young people safe. Because to your point, it's an ever-changing world, and I've been doing this job for almost 15 years now, and it's always evolving, but at the core of it, what we want to consistently do is keep young people safe. And technology moves quickly, but we have a great group of experts and researchers that we work with to help us do that.
Yeah, and as important as many of these things may seem, I can also think when we're talking about many of these things that there are some people out there who would be concerned that, okay, if you're able to monitor teens this way, are we getting to a big brother level of surveillance?
Yeah, I can understand people's concern there, but I think when we talk about young people and safety, having this information to keep them safe is really key. And that's really what my work is focused on, is how we can use tools and technology to ensure that we're building the right tools to keep young people safe and to give parents the resources they need to do that.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm thinking in my mind that there will be some, inevitably, who will wonder if you're able to do that for teen accounts. How do we know that it's not going to adult accounts as well? That the same technology isn't being used for adult accounts?
The technology where we're able to understand who's a teen and who's not, you mean?
How are you monitoring them, who they're interacting with and things of that nature? I'm sure there will be some privacy groups who, just similar to what we just saw with like the Ring commercial that came out during the Super Bowl. It seemed on the outset like, oh, this will allow you to find a missing dog. Great. But then immediately people were like, wait. How do we know it's only being used for that purpose?
Yeah, it's a good question. And we do really try to make sure that we're balancing privacy with safety and thinking about, privacy rights and all of that. So it's understandable. And the one thing I would encourage people to do is when you go and use, not just Instagram or Meta apps, but go into your privacy settings on your apps, check them and make sure you're comfortable with them. I think that's a really good tip there to give users, just to help them better understand, what information is available and what data is used. And, a lot of times we get this question and, information we use for things like safety and for also personalization of making sure the experience that you have on Instagram is one that reflects your interests and one that's enjoyable for you.
Kira, great speaking with you. I hope to see even more measures that you all are taking, especially to keep teens and young people safe. Thank you so much for your time today and for addressing a lot of parents' concerns.
Thank you so much, Anita. I'd be happy to come back and chat anytime.
Wonderful. 1:45, everyone. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. It is 1:47 right now, and while we await our next guest, I want to draw your attention to Georgia, where there is a trial that's going on for the father of a school shooter, Colt Gray, who is now on the stand in his own defense. In this trial, he is accused of providing his teenage son access to a firearm before a 2024 massacre. His 14-year-old son, Colt Gray, is accused of opening fire at Appalachia High School, killing 2 students, 2 teachers, wounding 9 others. Again, Colin Gray, who is on the stand now, has pleaded not guilty on 2 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 20 counts of cruelty to children, and 5 counts of reckless conduct for his son's actions. Let's listen into a bit of this.
The blood is on your hands. Fuck you.
Correct.
And this is at 6:49 through 6:51 a.m. before Colt goes to school.
Yep.
And that's his first day of attending school since May 21st, 2023,
Yep.
when Jackson County came to your door about threats to shoot up a school.
Yes, sir.
Did those texts alarm you?
They did, but I kind of knew what they were about.
I think you testified about, you kind of knew what they were about?
Yeah.
You're just guessing? Does Colt still have the rifle in his room at this time?
I'm not aware of the rifle maybe being in his room at that time.
Okay. So let's see, look at this picture we have. That was modified on August 3rd. That's Colt's room, isn't it?
That is his room.
And that's the tactical vest you ordered for him.
Correct.
Now, you took Colt to school that morning, didn't you?
I believe I did on his first day. I can't really remember.
But you did not go inside to tell anyone about those texts?
I did not. And I wasn't aware of that picture either.
I understand. But the rifle is in his room, isn't it?
In that picture, it is. I don't know when it was taken. I don't know where I was.
Well, sometime after he dyed his hair
Yep.
and before August 3rd.
In that time frame, I don't know. I don't know where I was, what time it was. I had no idea that picture existed till I saw it the other day sitting in his courtroom.
And now at this time, you and Marcy had been talking about Colt needing serious psychological help, weren't you?
Marcy was bringing that up. Yes, sir.
Okay. And she was telling you, y'all discussed inpatient treatment for him.
She did.
She did, not you.
Yes, I didn't believe he needed inpatient treatment at that point.
All right. And you actually talked to Investigator Smith, and he says, have you been in communication with Marcy about any kind of stuff for him, any kind of like mental health? And you said, yeah, her and I talked about that. And she was like, you know, he needs help at another level. And Smith asked, what does she mean by that? And you say, she means like checked into a place.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, when does she make that comment? And you say, recently. So she's telling you Colt needs to be checked into a place.
She is.
Okay. Now the next day, on August 15th, so this was his first day at school where he says the blood will be on your hands. And now we moved on to the next day, Colt skipped school, correct?
I was told, I think by Colt, I'm in school.
But he wasn't.
I found out later that he was not.
So he skipped school his second day.
Yep.
Okay.
I received a text, I believe, from him, said he was at school. I texted him and asked, did you go to school? He said yes. And I think I said, have a good day, I'm proud of you.
Okay. And him and Marcy have a physical confrontation.
And what was that date?
August 15th.
Yeah, that's
It's a
the
Thursday.
day. That's the day they had the issue.
Okay. And the issue was about the gun in his room.
No. Originally, I thought the issue was about Colt made mention to me that she was either drunk or high.
Okay. That's Colt's version.
That's Colt telling me in the very beginning.
Okay. But she told you that it was about the gun in his room, and she wanted it put away and out of the house.
That she was actually in the house, you know, that staying with us. I thought that he had went to school. Text, as stated, she did not even know that he had not left the house and went to school. So the version I got from her was, yes, he and I had an argument, I think is how she posed that, and then somehow she said something about the gun and Colt not wanting to give it to her or something. I'm not sure exactly how that story went.
Okay. You remember telling Investigator Smith that she said something about the way you're acting, I'm going to talk to your daddy and we're going to have to take these guns and get them out of the house. And what she said is he flew off the bed. She said she went down in there and said, you need to get your shit straight, go to school, and we need to just get these guns put up. And that's when they went from bad to worse. And she said she was going out of his bedroom and he pushed her and she hit the door of the wall and the side of her head, and it's like, okay, I'm on the way home. You remember telling Investigator Smith that?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. So she's telling you that she wanted the guns out of the house. He loses his mind, flies off the bed at her, and pushes her, and she hits her head. That's what you're being told by her.
That's her version of it, yes, sir.
Okay. And Colt texts you at 11:04 that a.m. and tells you about that. Correct?
Part of it, yes, sir.
So let's pull up the mom. Okay, so at 11:04, he's texting you, Mama just attacked me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then tried to grab my gun.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's kind of accurate to what she was saying.
No, she was saying that he had his gun or was doing something with his gun, and his version of it was he was nowhere near his gun. It was just sitting in the corner of his room, and she came in and went for it, is what he said for me.
But it was an argument about his gun.
I think it was an argument about school, his attitude, not wanting to go, just a kind of a rift that they had always had, to be honest with you.
Okay. But this is an argument involving the gun.
Yeah, this is the first time, to my knowledge, that we had ever had any issue with a gun being in our house. Nobody ever went for a gun, used it aggressively, or even in our arguments Colt and I had, the gun was never, ever touched, made reference to. The first time the gun ever was involved was when Marcy went for it, according to Colt.
So never, 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 ever, ever, never until this day.
As far as in an aggressive or negative manner.
Okay. And this is the day after he made that text about the blood being on your hands.
Right, and I think I stated I took that blood on your hands as he thought that his mama may go through with the threat to kill him.
Okay.
That's how I read that text. That's how I took it.
You took it that he's scared of his mother killing him.
Whatever they were arguing about, I don't think he ever got over that statement that she made.
That's not in any of his texts to you.
No, it's not. And
You just thought that.
That's just how I perceive that.
Okay. So you're going through this month thinking in your head, Colt's terrified of his mother killing him.
Not terrified. I just think that he had that thought in the back of his head.
Okay. And this is the woman you went and picked up and brought back to your house to live with Colt.
This is the woman I went and picked up after we went several family visits, Colt and I, to rehab to see that she was doing better, had earned her chip, and I was told that she was to a point where she could be released and that she had permission and her parents were on board, so I went and got her.
Well, what about Colt?
Colt was on board. He went down there for for family days with me.
I thought you just said that you were worried that Colt was afraid she'd kill him.
In that argument,
So you have a child that's afraid of the parent killing them, and you're going to bring her into your house?
not afraid of killing him, I'm just saying he always had that, we both had that thought,
Okay. Well, let's see the text that he sent. This is at 1:52. Do this. So Colt texted you, she was grabbing for my rifle. I didn't know what she planned to do with it, so I kind of acted in flight or fight. Correct?
Yep,
Okay. Sorry, I got ahead.
that's okay, I know what's coming.
And
Yes,
then
sir.
you said, it's all good. Why was the gun involved?
Yes, sir.
I mean, that kind of disturbs you that there's a gun involved in this, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the first time that a gun was, involved in any kind of argument or altercation.
Okay. And then he writes, I don't know, she backed me into my room and started talking about, oh, you're going to get your gun, even though I wasn't, and then she grabbed it.
Yes, sir.
So the gun is in his room.
It was on that day.
Okay. And it was after that day, that she asked you to get rid of the guns.
She asked me to put the guns up.
And you agreed that you would do that.
Yep, put them up where they normally are up, and there's not been an issue.
And you didn't do any of that
I did. I put them all back up in my closet,
in your closet.
in that top shelf
Okay.
where they've sat.
And so I think you talked to Smith. What did Marcy ask you about the guns? What did she say to you about the guns? And you said, she just said after the confrontation she had with Colt, she was like, you just need to put them up or get rid of them. And I said, okay. And he says, did you put them up or get rid of them? And you said, they're up. And I didn't. My thought was, I'm going to have a conversation with Colt about this. So putting them up for you is in an unlocked closet
Yes, sir.
on a shelf.
Yes, sir.
And you're not home during the day.
Not home during the day.
Colt is.
He was.
And you didn't do anything else to make the guns more secure from Colt.
No, sir. To that point, I didn't. There was no perceived threat from Colt.
Okay. In fact, later the same day, at 3:48, Colt texts you, asks you to buy the Fariachi bore sight with the red laser bore sight and 3 sets of batteries from Amazon. He says, could you please buy this?
Correct. That was in reference to us going the following weekend to the range.
Okay. And you ordered it for him the very next morning.
For him and myself.
Okay.
That was a accessory we both used on our rifles.
The morning.
Wow, wow, wow. That is testimony from Colin Gray, the 55-year-old father of Colt Gray, who at the age of 14 killed several of his classmates, educators at his school. And this is going over the list of red flags that his parents either overlooked or didn't think enough of. And that includes the FBI receiving a tip that Colt Gray was in an online chat group about school shootings before the school shooting happened. That includes the list of issues that they were having with their son before Colin Gray bought his son a gun that he said would help with their bonding. That includes the mother being very concerned about the behavioral issues they were having with their son, telling Colt Gray or Colin Gray that they needed to take all of the guns away because she was, at the very least, afraid of any suicidal ideations he might have. And he put them in an unlocked closet on a shelf and went to work for the day with the son who at 14 can absolutely access that. So this is the 10th day of that trial. Not exactly sure where it's going to go from here, but pretty shocking testimony there. And this, of course, is one of several cases now where prosecutors are trying to hold the parents responsible when there is a young person who ends up taking lives in a school setting, kind of rolling back, okay, well, how did they get access to that weapon and what were the issues? Another one of the red flags that was missed is that this young man, Colt Gray, apparently had, he had a fixation with Nicholas Cruz, who is another school shooter. And after the shooting that Colt Gray took part in, the father said, oh yeah, he did have a picture of Nicholas Cruz on his wall. I mean, there's just a lot of things that the prosecutors are picking apart in this trial. So again, that is continuing on. It's on a 10th day, but you just shake your head at even what you're hearing thus far, as he is facing very serious charges himself, the father of the school shooter. Obviously, the child himself is facing a list of charges as well. All right, it's 2:03. Let's take a quick break and woo-saw, and then I'll set you up for what you can expect in this hour. All right, everybody, I'm still kind of blown away from that last trial, but let's press on, okay? Let me tell you a little bit about what we are expecting in this hour here. So we're going to bring up our own Tina Wynn on a Friday. You know, we start to think about all things weekend. We get really excited for it. And, of course, for Chicago, you know, we have endless options for us for a weekend. But some folks probably just want to sit still and watch the game that's happening tonight on our air, Fox Chicago, Illini versus Michigan. I mean, this is going to get really interesting. The Illini have been doing very well. Michigan's always interesting to watch. And this matchup is going to be one I think people will be talking about for a while. So we're going to bring her up with the anticipation building for that this evening. Also, around 2:30, we're going to have a conversation about some interesting statistics of people who have decided to take up residency in other countries. How are they doing that? How's that working out for them? And maybe why so many people are making that decision. There is a group called Expatsy that's going to be joining us around 2:30 to talk about that. Also, here in the state of Illinois, I mean, throughout the country, there's this a lot of conversation about insurance, the cost of insurance, the cost of medications, and how people in a tight economic time, how they make that work, and the fact that some people truly have to consider. I mean, we've spoken with the food bank about this, like how much they're buying in terms of groceries. Will that take away from how much of the medication they can afford? There are some hard decisions that are having to be made, but there is a group here in our state that's working to make medication more affordable for people here in the state of Illinois at the very least, and we're going to talk with them in just a short while. But there is also a conversation about seating that is growing out there. And when I say seating, I mean seating on Southwest Airlines flights. They just made a change recently to have assigned seats, and people were like, oh, no. But it's happening. And so we have Brandon Blewett, who is a travel writer and chief development officer, who is joining me as we kind of get caught up on how this is going. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me today.
All right, so let me take things all the way back to your impressions of Southwest's policies in terms of seating before the shift.
I think that what Southwest's advantage was it was an image of flexibility, right? If you were someone that flew frequently, you could check your bag for free, and then you could get on the plane and sit wherever you wanted. So there was an element of the restrictions that other airlines maybe posed on passengers that didn't exist, and that was their brand.
Yeah, it was what people knew them for, whether you liked it or didn't like it. I mean, it was a part, at least for the people who chose Southwest, what they chose them for. And so seeing this shift, which seems a little bit more like all of the other airlines, even before it was instituted, did you think it was going to end well for them, or that this could be problematic for their business model?
It sort of went against their motto, which was "You're now free to move about the cabin," right? So I knew that there was going to have to be a lot of really strong change management. Customers are going to have backlash because there was a reason that they chose Southwest for their policies on both seating and bags. But you're also going to have to train all of your employees because these are new systems, new policies that you're having to adopt consistently, so that everyone is facing the same situation, whether they're at Love or whether they're at Midway or they're at LaGuardia. And to me, the deadline that they set, kudos to them for meeting that deadline, but it was quite aggressive to have such a stark policy shift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was one of a few that kind of all took place around the same time, it felt like.
It was, and I think the timing of that is also something that probably should have been evaluated. The overhead bins on Southwest are not as large as some of the other carriers. And if you're going to charge people for bags first, then you would see, okay, well, people are going to start crowding their bags, and this is going to be a problem for us. But the rollout, just it seemed that it wasn't completely baked or well thought out on how it was going to impact the boarding process, which I think is what really frustrates most customers.
Mm-hmm. And you, when I gave your title, a little bit, maybe if we can talk a little bit about your company, because it is the largest private equity-backed paving platform, and an Amazon best-selling author you are as well. So tell me a little bit about the investor side of this, because you do private equity. Tell me about the investor side of this.
There's a couple things. I think first and foremost, what Southwest board looked at was the other U.S. airlines generated $7 billion in revenue for baggage fees. Southwest was missing out on that. I think a lot of investors and boards are going to look at that and say, hey, how do we get on that action? One thing that we always try to do, so as you mentioned, we are the largest private equity-backed paving roll-up, and what we always try to do is make sure that any change that is going to occur, it's communicated first to the the business that we are acquiring, so that way their people know the new systems, the new processes, and we also simultaneously work with them to train the customer. And we do it in stages, so that way that if there are changes, kind of boil the frog so that it doesn't seem so dramatic and so stark all at once. And that's when you have all the disruptions and the complaints on social media.
And so for your company, Paver, that kind of encompasses what you all do and how you all look at things. But as an author of How to Avoid Strangers on Airplanes, when you think of assigned seating, it actually, maybe it helps.
I think the biggest issue with Southwest's assigned seating policy has been, and this is from online chatter, that the seat that someone has chosen or selected has been reassigned. And there's also been issues where seat maps were not consistent when two people were looking at the same flight. And I would be very frustrated if you're a parent and you have, your child sitting next to you, and then you find out that they've separated you and there's not a way to get you back together. That would be very frustrating on any airline. So I think the system glitch there for Southwest, and hopefully that's something that's an easy fix, is probably what created more consternation than the actual, assignments of seats themselves.
Aha, yes, I can definitely see that. So then it seems like the rollout's been a little bumpy.
It has, and listen, having worked in deals where there's changes to processes, anytime there's some type of, whether it's an investor choice or there's a merger and acquisition, there will be people that hated a certain process and, they gritted their teeth and just did it. And then as soon as you ask them to change, the way that they used to do things was the best way ever, right? So I do think that there is just a resistance to change that's inherent in all people. But the rollout itself, I think, could have been much smoother, and maybe it required more time before it was, rolled out to customers.
Do you think from the company side of things that maybe the changes that they're making are changes that they need to compete and to stay around?
I do think that Southwest wanted to make sure that they weren't viewed as just a low-cost carrier, akin to, a Spirit or Frontier, and then they meet their market needs, by having a lot of extra fees. I do think there was sort of a space where Southwest was where maybe their identity of just being fun wasn't enough to be sustainable. And they definitely looked at the revenue that other airlines were generating from bag fees, and listen, it doesn't necessarily impact the loyalty to those airlines. So, why not give it a try? We're coming up on, March. We'll have quarterly earnings calls to see, how it goes for the airline. But I do see a lot more online complaints and chatter on, X or, Instagram related to Southwest that, honestly, I'd seen with the other airlines, but they were generally kind of free from that kind of online chatter.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I was telling my producers, the last time I flew Southwest, I felt like not having assigned seats felt like the Wild Wild West.
Right. I'm the same way, and I fly every week for work, and I'm used to having my assigned seat, and I like that because a lot of times, meetings run late. If I'm having to get to O'Hare, how that traffic is, to get off the highway. And so knowing that even if I get there just as the boarding door is closing, that I'm going to be in the emergency exit aisle row, that is a nice that's a nice thing to get on the plane to, rather than trying to sit in a middle seat at the back next to the lavatory.
Yeah. Do they have enough appeal that the more they become like these other airlines, though, they will still survive?
That's a great question. I think it'll be really interesting to see how the earnings calls go. I do think that what I have noticed is there has been not necessarily rollbacks, but they have been very sensitive, and they have changed and amended some of the policies that they have rolled out. So we'll see. I do think that they had a very, very unique brand. It was fun. It was flexibility. This does erode that. So time will tell.
What do they say? The only thing constant is change. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it. Brandon Blewett with Pave America. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care. Have a good weekend. 2:16, everyone. Let's get in a 2-minute break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to 18 right now, and there's plenty of people who are struggling to figure out how to pay for medical procedures, medical health insurance, actual medicine, and there are groups that are working to find some solutions for you. One of those is Citizen Action Illinois. Anusha Thotakura is joining me now. She is the executive director. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And tell me a little bit about this legislative session, what you all have been doing with your group to try to address the issues that people are having.
Well, right now we're seeing massive attacks on healthcare affordability. Insurance costs are rising, coverage is being slashed, and at the state level, we need our lawmakers to do something to address rising healthcare costs. And one of the biggest cost drivers of health insurance and one of the biggest challenges that Illinoisans face is affording their prescription medication. So we're really proud to be leading the charge on establishing a prescription drug affordability board in the state of Illinois. This would function as an independent body similar to the Illinois Commerce Commission. It would be an independent body with the authority to review really expensive medication and set payment limits for what Illinoisans should be paying. In addition to that, it automatically takes the prices that are negotiated by Medicare at the federal level and sets those as payment limits for Illinoisans across the state. And we're really excited to be leading the charge on this legislation. We've been working on this for a few years, but finally we've seen some progress in some other states and savings that they're going to be seeing. In Colorado, they are expected to see over $30 million in savings from a payment limit on just one drug that they established last year. So we're looking forward to seeing the General Assembly move this legislation forward and secure lower healthcare costs for Illinoisans.
Let me ask you, when you do look at the national picture, there are a couple of different levels of conversation that I would think, discussion that's being had. One, there's Trump RX. Do you not think that that would be helpful for people, or would this be something that would be in addition to something like that?
Well, what we're seeing at the national level is a dismantling of the safety net and healthcare program. So there's millions of people that are going to be impacted by slashes to Medicaid and SNAP. Being able to afford food and being able to afford health insurance and medication, that is already not easy for folks as is. And when you take that away, Trump's big ugly bill last year slashes Medicaid and SNAP, people are going to be looking for alternatives. And also this year, Congress failed to extend the ACA enhanced premium tax credits, which keep health insurance affordable for folks that rely on the marketplace. And so we're not seeing any progress here. We're actually seeing movement in the opposite direction at the federal level. And what we're hoping is that here in Illinois, we can count on our lawmakers to stand up for affordable health care costs and establish a prescription drug affordability board as just one step to do so.
And then, so the other side of that is that I feel like as Illinois, as a state that is run by a Democratic governor, fights back against the Trump policies. It does seem like the governor, really touts that they are addressing these issues. So do you feel like you are doing extra here, or that there are needs that are not actually being met in our state?
There's always work to be done, and we're so proud of the progress that Governor Pritzker has led the charge on when it comes to healthcare affordability. A few years ago, the General Assembly passed legislation that would require insurance companies to submit their rates to the Department of Insurance and justify their rate increases before they can sell their plans here in Illinois. We were one of very few states in the country that did not have insurance rate review policies. We now have that. Last year, Governor Pritzker led the charge on addressing PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers, who are middlemen that often negotiate kickbacks for drugs in exchange for favorable formulary placements. And he required 100% rebate pass-through in his legislation. He also banned step therapy, which is when an insurer can go against the advice of your doctor and say, hey, I know your healthcare provider prescribed you this, but we want you to take this medication fail on that before we give you what your doctor prescribed. So those are all things that we really need here in Illinois. That is progress that we have made. But in a time where 1 in 4 Illinoisans are rationing their medication, either cutting pills in half, skipping doses, or not filling prescriptions altogether due to cost, there's clearly more work to be done. And that's why establishing a prescription drug affordability board is the next step.
And is your thought through having this board that regardless of who the governor is or who the president is, this would be an established board that would continue on to work toward this end?
100%. I mean, this is not a partisan issue, right? We're all affected by high costs of medication and unaffordable health care, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, no matter what your background is or where in the state that you live. Access to health care is a bipartisan priority, but we need to make sure that we deliver for people, not just talk about the issue of unaffordability, but deliver solutions, deliver savings. And so when we look to states like Colorado that have passed a prescription drug affordability board and are set to see $30 million in annual savings off of one upper payment limit alone. That's some common sense legislation that we should pass here in Illinois, and we hope to have bipartisan support on this solution.
So let's just talk from a baseline standpoint of how, I mean, you mentioned people rationing food, and I mentioned as well to afford the medicine that they need, sometimes life-sustaining medicine. But talk a little bit more in terms of price, how pricey it can get, how costly it can get for some of these medications.
I mean, that's a great question. And if you are lucky enough to not have to rely on a prescription medication or an expensive prescription medication, you may have a loved one, a friend, a coworker, a neighbor that relies on an insanely expensive medication just to get by. And I'll give you an example of the drug, let's say insulin, that costs like about $1 to produce. Or a few dollars, but can be sold for over $100 per vial. And even if your insurance offers good coverage and maybe you don't pay as much out of pocket, what we have to understand is it's not just out of pocket costs. When there's high drug prices that your insurance is paying to cover medication, that affects insurance premiums for everyone. And there's no reason why Illinoisans or Americans in general have to pay more than folks in any other developed country in the world for the exact same medication, whether it's brand name or generic. And what we're seeing is across the board, we're paying about 4 to 5 times the cost. And these can be something that, it's $100 a month or $200 a month, like it could be the case for insulin, or a blood cancer drug that costs $60,000 a year. And again, even if you're not paying $60,000 a year for a medication with that list price, your insurance is footing the bill, and then you're again footing that bill as a consumer through rising insurance premiums.
So even though we are talking about an increasing or increasingly difficult circumstance for many people that they find themselves in, is this the first time that you all have introduced this legislation for this board?
This legislation was introduced several years ago, as it was in several states, and since then we've seen 8 states enact a prescription drug affordability board in some way, shape, or form. So we've been working on this in addition to our other healthcare priorities that we've seen pass and be enacted, and this is the next step that we're working on to ensure lower healthcare costs for Illinoisans.
So why do you think it has not been adopted thus far in Illinois?
Well, any transformative legislation isn't going to get passed overnight. And so these past several years, we've been working to build momentum and support for this legislation, and also look at, well, what's going on in the other states that have passed a prescription drug affordability board? What learnings can we have from their implementation? How can we improve our bill? And one of the main questions that we had gotten was, well, how much money are we really going to save by having a board such as this one? And last year, Medicare released their prices for the first 10 drugs that they negotiated. And we released a report earlier this year based on state spending data for those same 10 drugs. And we found that the state is losing out on over $192 million of taxpayer savings by not adopting those Medicare rates for state health plans. And that's not even talking about consumer savings that we would see just off those 10 drugs as well. So and it's an uphill battle, right? Whenever you take on a powerful industry, such as a pharmaceutical industry, there's going to be misinformation spread, there is going to be fear mongering, and it takes all of us across the state reaching out to our legislators and asking them to take on powerful interests and stand up for their constituents to get something passed.
Yeah, you mentioned the fear mongering, but there's also a lot of influential dollars as well.
Hey, and that's something where we're always happy to take on powerful corporate interests, and that's always worth doing. It's a fight worth having when it's the right thing to do. There's industries, whether it's big pharma or another industry, it's a fight worth taking on. And we do believe that legislators here in Illinois have the integrity to stand up for what's right, even if it's not in their best personal financial interests.
Okay, well, we'll see. Give us a timeline of where we go from here with this.
Yeah, well, the next step is for the bill to move through House and Senate committees. Session continues in Illinois until May, and so we hope to see the bill advance through committees, each chamber floor, and be signed hopefully this summer.
All right. Well, we expect an update then. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Great chatting with you today. It's 2:30, everybody. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. All right, everyone, it's 2:32 right now, and even though there's been a lot of conversation about immigration in terms of people who want to come into the country this year and over the last year, have we lost track of how many people are actually moving out of the country in the midst of it all? Our next guest is the CEO of a company that does relocation for Americans who want to live elsewhere. And it seems to be a growing number. Jen Barnett is joining me now from Expatsy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Are you sitting in the U.S. right now as you speak to me?
No, I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico.
Okay. All right. Wanted to establish at the very least that. Tell me a little bit about what your company does.
Sure. So my husband and I were Americans who wanted to move abroad. We weren't really sure how to get started. We just knew we wanted more and we wanted to kind of leave behind some of the things that were going on in the US, but there weren't a lot of resources for us. So after we were able to successfully plan our move, we started a company to help other people do the same thing. So we help people with an assessment that helps them kind of get matched up with different countries, like a dating profile. But then we also take them on group scouting trips. That's what I'm doing here in Oaxaca right now. And we help them with immigration paperwork, housing, taxes, healthcare, all of the steps that you need to follow to move to another country. And we help them move all over the world.
What are the things that they tell you in terms of wanting to move?
So the nice thing about our assessment is that we know exactly why everyone wants to move. And for the past quarter, about 80% want to leave for political reasons. We find that that is usually about 98% because the US is too conservative and about 2% that the US is too liberal. Although there's also a large number of people on both sides who say the US is too divided. Beyond that, cost of living is obviously a major concern.
Mm-hmm. And they find that these other countries are more affordable?
Almost every country on earth is more affordable than the US. Now, salaries don't pay the same, but for folks who are retired and on fixed income or who work remote or work for themselves, they can take their American dollars and infuse them into local economies and have a much higher quality of life and more security. For example, my husband and I are middle-aged. Our insurance premiums were going up $2,100 a month this year, and we're self-employed. And I wonder if we wouldn't have had to leave our business behind based on those kind of insurance premiums. But here in Mexico, our insurance premiums are $190 a month.
Whoa, big difference. And you gave us a little bit of an insight into some of the careers. Give me more information about demographics. Let's start with careers. Do you find that there is a particular industry where you see more people who want to move?
Sure. So there are buckets, and I mentioned retirees, and it's definitely easier for retirees. They have a certain amount of money, they can pick up and go to a certain list of countries that offer passive income visas. Then there are self-employed people like us, or people who are coaches or online counselors, or who are freelancers in arts or writers, things like that. In terms of skilled workers, the most in-demand roles in other countries are healthcare workers, especially nurses and physicians, scientists, IT professionals, software developers, and things like that, skilled trades, and don't underestimate the need to which countries, especially in Europe, need people in the construction trades and in logistics, and finally, teachers.
Very interesting. I have known, a few people who have taught in other countries. So I wasn't even thinking that when we were preparing to have this interview, but I have seen that with my own eyes. Is there a conversation? Are they not concerned about international conflicts and being an American sitting in the middle? I mean, I'm speaking to you in Mexico. I was just looking at cars burning in Mexico last weekend. I mean, and airlines saying they weren't going to fly there in the middle of conflict. Like, are people not worried about that kind of stuff?
That's an excellent question. And we had a tour group in Puerto Vallarta Sunday, and they were absolutely staying in the center of the action. And I got updates every 5 minutes for 2 days about everything that was going on. And what's important to remember, certainly everybody has a different tolerance for what they're looking for. And there are places that are quiet and quaint and never a thing happens, and we can help people move to those places too. But in the case of Puerto Vallarta, our guests weren't afraid. They were not following sort of the fear-mongering kind of posts that people were making. They were looking at what they saw with their eyes. And what they saw was that there were some property crimes that were scattered. It was time limited. It wasn't about them. They never felt afraid or threatened. It certainly changed the nature of the trip. We were going to go and tour the Zona Romantica that day, and they didn't get to do that, and roads were blocked and things like that. But they're still planning to move there. They weren't scared off by that, because they know it was a one-off thing. Whereas for a lot of people, violence in the US feels either A, so random and you can't control or predict it, or B, it feels directed at people who are trying to do the right thing in life. And so this didn't feel like that to them. So they didn't feel that threat.
Mm-hmm. And as you're speaking to them, I mean, are there some frequent places where everyone wants to go? When you talked about some places where, you know, they're kind of off the beaten path and never have any issues, what are some of those places? So I'm asking you two questions in one. One, are there some frequent places? And then two, are there some the off the beaten path places that some people end up for solace?
For sure. So the most popular countries, without a doubt, Portugal, Spain, Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama. And most often people move to countries like this who are remote workers or retirees because it isn't a place where you can always go and get jobs. Now, that said, most of these are big countries as well, or several of them. So Mexico has a lot of different lifestyles. We live in Merida, Yucatan. And just to give you an example of that, speaking to safety, we're from Birmingham, Alabama, which we love. But Merida had 1/40th as many murders per capita as Birmingham did. And Merida is larger. It's not a sleepy little town. And we never felt afraid living in Birmingham. You know, we loved living there. But of course, we feel even more safe living in Merida. Now, in terms of underrated places or quiet places, Malta, Uruguay are really high on people's lists, and places, of course, like Switzerland.
Very interesting. And you know, as you continue this business and you see more people coming to you, where do you see this business going?
So we have a goal of moving 1 million Americans. I will be straightforward. I think it is a great opportunity to have a positive impact in people's lives, but also on the U.S., because I think that if you want to be an activist in this day and age and things aren't working, that sometimes you have to help people vote with their dollars and vote with their feet. And that's what we feel like we're doing. I do think this is a growing movement. I do think we'll have the American diaspora. We have the goal of, first of all, making sure that Americans are spread out so that everyone doesn't end up in Portugal, because certainly that could happen. And making sure that Americans have a positive effect where they go. And there are a lot of ways to have a positive effect on local incomes and local economy without doing things like taking more housing than you need.
Do you get any people who give you feedback about places that Americans aren't wanted? You know, I think about like when Jeff Bezos and his current wife went overseas for their wedding, and people were actually protesting, like they did not want Americans over there having some big event.
Listen, there's a big difference between Americans and Jeff Bezos. I mean, I don't think nobody really likes dealing with tourists, right? And nobody wants to deal with billionaires. But when you go in and you are a humble, regular person who is becoming a part of a community, you are going to get back what you give. People often ask us, what countries want Americans? What countries don't want Americans? It's very common. And I understand, right? Americans are going through something where for the first time, maybe they're feeling like their own country doesn't want them. And so they're trying to find a place to get rid of that feeling. And the truth is that there aren't countries that want Americans, and there aren't countries that don't want Americans. There are countries that want nurses and electricians and capital. And so if you, as an American, bring that, then they want you. Now, of course, if you come in and you think that you bring American exceptionalism, nobody on earth is going to want that. But in general, what we find is that stories like that make big headlines, right? But day to day, when you are kind and you are a contributing part of a community, that community welcomes you. And many Americans move because of that sense of community. I think we're starved for it in the US. And it's one of the reasons we love Mexico, right? There is such a sense of community here in the way that people look out for each other.
All right. Now, you make people take a quiz before
Yes.
they go on this. Walk me through the quiz. I'm online right now, and I'm looking through it myself, but I didn't have a lot of time to complete it beforehand. So walk me through the things that you were asking people in this quiz.
For sure. So this is how my husband and I got started. We sat and figured out what our visa paths were. And then we sat down and started writing out what we were looking for in a new home. So, what was the cost of living, the weather, the culture, what was going to be legal or illegal, what were human rights like? And we made our list separately, and then we got together, and then we made gargantuan spreadsheets and started giving countries points if they had one of those criteria. And that's eventually what became the expatsy test. It's been taken almost 400,000 times now by Americans who want to leave the US. And it's not perfect. You know, it's meant to be a thought starter to help you realize the questions you need to ask yourself. However, what's important is that first you figure out what your path is. Are you going to be a remote worker, a self-employed person, a skilled worker, a student, an investor, a tourist, a retiree? And then you start to really deeply consider those countries and put your feet on the ground in those places.
Okay. What would be some of your advice for someone who is considering this?
The first thing is to go through our 6 stages of moving abroad. So we say they are ideation, which is fantasy land, right? It is one day I'm going to be drinking margaritas on the beach, or one day I'm going to have wine on the Douro River. Then planning, which is what I was talking about, of figuring out what your personal visa path would be. And essentially what you're saying is, here is what I have to offer a country. Here is where I can go. Then exploration is figuring out, where do I want to go? And first of all, it's vibes, you know, coming to a place like this and seeing if you like it, but also figuring out what your tax obligation would be, or if they have your medicines available locally, or what education is like for your kids. Once you go through exploration, you have a final country. So you plant your flag, and then you decide, I'm going to fill out paperwork. I'm going to go through this process. Once you've got your paperwork turned in, that's when you figure out, what are you going to keep, sell, toss, store, donate, sell the house, rent it out to people, whatever. Then getting settled in, and that's the rest of your life. So learning the language, finding a local endocrinologist or a pickleball group or whatever you're looking for. But the best advice I can give you is to go through these stages in a practical order. Obviously, we help people with this, but doing it in order keeps you from making a big or costly mistake.
Okay, well, this is a lot to consider, and clearly there are a lot of people who are taking the test and making that big decision. Thank you for walking us through it all.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. Enjoy yourself there in Mexico.
Take care.
All right, 2:46 right now, and Tina Nguyen just walked on here to Studio 32, so give us a few minutes and we'll be right back. About 2:50 right now, the one and only Tina Nguyen up here in Studio 32 to get us up to date on what we need to know ahead of this big matchup in NCAA basketball on our air tonight.
Yes, we've got a huge game tonight. Number 3 Michigan against number 10 Illinois down in Champaign. I was looking on social media. All the college students, man, they've been out there since like 5 a.m. already in line.
Will
for
they
this
remember
game.
it?
Already in line for this game. So huge matchup, a really like March Madness feel to this game here. And obviously you've got 2 really good teams in the Big Ten and just Big Ten basketball in general this year. I mean, we could see potentially like 11 teams make it into the big dance here if Ohio State right now and USC a bit on the bubble there. But yeah, this game tonight on our channel, and we've got a full post-game show. We're bringing in Kendall Gill, former Illini legend. He's joining us as well. So yeah, a lot of good stuff cooking up here for this one.
For as often as I am in Champaign, I'm kind of upset I'm not down there this weekend. This seems like the place to be.
Yeah, and just overall, so many great storylines in this game. First, you've got both of these teams are coming off losses. Michigan, they lost to Duke, and then you've got Illinois, who just lost to UCLA. Their last 3 losses have been in overtime and just really by single digits. I talked to Andrei Stojakovic yesterday, and he said when it comes down to that's really execution is the big thing for them. But I think this one being at home in Champaign for them is going to play a huge factor here. They are on a 9-game winning streak against Michigan, dating back all the way to December of 2019.
Oh
so
my goodness.
yeah, I know. When
So
I
they
read
have
that
some
at first,
established protocol.
when I read that, I was like, is this actually accurate? I texted the SID. I'm like, this is true. 9 straight wins against Michigan, all dating back all the way to 2019. He was like, yeah, 100%. So obviously, like, they know what's on the line. Stojakovic told me yesterday, like, we've been preparing for this the whole entire season. Michigan is a team where when the schedule comes out, you circle them on the calendar. And getting deeper into the game, you look at Michigan, top 5 in offensive and defensive rating. They are loaded with talent. In Illinois, they're a little bit leaky here on defense, but they can certainly score and shoot the ball well, especially when they're clicking and really locked in on that side. In this game, though, against Michigan, they play really great defense. They've got the length, the size, and they've got the physicality as well. To beat Michigan tonight for Illinois, you're going to need to score about 80 to 90 points. So this is going to be a really good one. And I think for Illinois too, coming in right now, they're number 10. I think for Michigan, losing to Duke last week, that obviously like hurt them. No longer number 1 right now. But these 2 teams playing for seeding in the Big Ten tournament, which by the way is in Chicago. I believe the weekend of March 14th and 15th, which I think is also St. Patty's
It is.
Day
There's a lot
weekend
going
too.
on that weekend.
But yeah, and then Selection Sunday, I believe, is on March 15th. So both of these teams are playing for a lot here.
Yeah, March Madness starts in earnest on the 17th. So yeah, it's right before that. And yes, the parade will be on downtown is on the 14th. So yeah, that gonna be a lot of people in the streets that weekend. Listen,
I know.
So I know the Illini actually have a couple of young men who could have gone to the league last year that stayed with them.
Yeah. Well, I think you look at this game tonight, and I was texting with a buddy of mine who is an NBA scout. I mean, he's headed down there to Champaign. There are a lot of lottery picks in this game tonight. So even just from that point of view, like NBA scouts, they're all going to be locked in for this game. But yeah, I mean, you have, for one, when you look at Illinois and the talent that they have, a lot of guys from Europe. And I asked Andrei Stojakovic about that. How does that impact, right, the way that you guys play and the team culture as well when it comes to just basketball IQ and the pace too? But one of their players, Keaton Wagler, I mean, the freshman, you've got Kylan Boswell, who missed, I believe, 7 games, was out for nearly a month. Freshman Keaton Wagler really had to step up and really keep things on track for them. And just the season he's put together so far, averaging nearly 20 points a game, he has been such a star for them, and really in the conversation when it comes to Big Ten Player of the Year as well. But for Michigan, you have Yaxel Lindenborg.
Okay.
So you have Wagler, Lindenborg going head-to-head. You've got the coaching matchup as well with Dusty May and Brad Underwood. And of course, like, both of these teams, they can score. And I think it's going to come down Illinois locking in on the defensive side of the ball. We've seen them do it throughout the season, but again, like I said, they've been leaky here on that side. But for them, the biggest part of their identity so far this season has been when it comes to rebounding, crashing the boards there. I talked to Kylan Boswell a few weeks ago. He said that is something that coach is always emphasizing.
Fundamentals.
Yeah, always emphasizing to us in practice. We're on the line if we're not doing that. So yeah, just overall, really exciting, good matchup. Again, really a March Madness feel to this game.
All right, so if we can't make it down to Champaign, many of us won't be in Champaign. What time do we need to be in front of the TV watching Fox Chicago?
Game is at 7 o'clock, and then keep it on Fox Chicago because we do have the post-game show bringing in Kendall Gill, Illini legend here, and then I've also got a conversation with Andre Stojakovic that will also air too. So yeah, 7
You've
o'clock.
gone from after the whistle to after the buzzer.
There you go. I know. Someone was asking me earlier today, they're like, what is your favorite thing to cover? And I was like, this may be like a bad answer to them, but I really enjoy it all. I mean, that's the beauty of being in a city like Chicago.
Yeah.
There's truly no off season. Like I was in Arizona a few weeks ago for spring training, and then Cassie's at the combine. She's been down at the combine all week long, getting all the great one-on-one interviews, and then here we are getting ready for Illinois and Michigan.
I almost feel like
there's no off season.
You know, the no off season, especially for Chicago sports. But I do think there's just something extra special about college sports because people are still trying to make it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, they're not they kind of are millionaires these days, but that's a whole nother story.
With all the NIL, they're making a lot more than us when we were in college.
Are millionaires, but they're still trying to get, reach for their dreams.
Totally. And again, even just texting with some of my friends who are in the NBA and scouts, like they're all heading down to Champaign, super excited for this matchup, and just to see again, they're like, there's so many like lottery picks in this game. But that's the beauty of college sports, right? Obviously, with the influence of and the impact of NIL, the transfer portal as well.
Changed the game.
Completely changed and impacted the game, but there is still that, you look at March Madness and, you seeing teams, the what is it like the beauty of winning it all, but then the agony too of losing too. So you experience both, but it's exciting.
Well, we'll see who's having beauty or who's having pain tonight. It will be very interesting to watch. I'm sure so many people will be tuned in. I'm going to be among them. So thank you so much for keeping us up to date, getting us ready for this part of the madness to begin. Thank you, Tina. I know you got to get ready for the 4 o'clock news, and we're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll be right back to proceed on here on Chicago Live. welcome back, everyone. We are now in our 3 o'clock hour here on Chicago Live, our final hour for the work week. And boy, oh boy, look how many people are out at the Bean right now enjoying the warmth of this Friday that we have.
Look at the lower right-hand corner there. Mm-hmm. What's going on? Are those people down there in the lower right-hand corner? Are they having a picnic?
It looks like they're
having a little picnic.
Having a little time on a mat there,
You got a
enjoying
little
some
blanket?
little food, little time outside.
That's what we all should do on a day like today, huh?
Mm-hmm. And especially when they are few and far between right now.
Well, we had some 60-degree days, what was it, about 10 days ago. And we have one today. And these are all huge bonuses because, normal daytime highs are like, 41, 40 degrees. And last week they were in the 30s.
We've gotten our 60s and then taken a dip each time.
Well, and, that's how it is. It's kind of like if you were a little girl or when you were a little girl and then you go into the beach and you see these big waves coming in from the ocean, and you're like, Mom, is that water cold or is it warm? So you run out there and you dip your toe in, and you're like, oh, it's fine. But then here comes a wave, so you run back out. It's kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know if that analogy holds.
I'm like,
yeah, I'm just painting a picture for you. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, tell us about what we can expect this weekend because we essentially need to savor what we are experiencing today.
Well, you got your toe in the water, you see the big wave coming, so you run back on the beach, right? So today we're in the 60s. Tomorrow, mostly upper 30s, low 40s coming again. Now, this is Futurecast. This is this afternoon. You can see a few clouds, and notice all those arrows are coming out of the south.
What's going on with that?
That means temperatures today in the 60s. But what's going to happen coming up overnight tonight and tomorrow, those arrows change colors. They go from red to blue, and you know what that means. Red to blue means cold. And the winds are going to be coming more out of the north. So we have a fundamental shift coming in our weather pattern as we go into the weekend. So the weekend will be sharply colder. We do have a couple of chances of snowfall over the weekend.
Did you hear when I was like, I couldn't say it.
I saw it. Now, the first round of snowfall comes early on Saturday, and that's going to be mostly up around the Wisconsin state line.
Okay.
I've got one forecast model, maybe brings a little dusting. I don't think there's going to be much accumulation, but a little dusting, maybe the far northwest suburbs. Could be maybe a flurry downtown, but that's how it looks right now. That goes through. The second shot of snowfall, I think, is going to be south of the city, and that comes later on Sunday. Now, I think right now the odds are more likely than not that you will not see any snow.
Okay, all right.
So that's going to make you happy.
I am. I know, listen, there are so many people. Snow is one of those things, like some people love it and some people and some people love it when it first begins, but then others are like kind of ready for the season.
They have a fleeting relationship with it. Like a fickle love for snow.
Fickle,
right?
for sure.
Yeah, like that little girl that dated you in 7th grade. They liked you at the beginning of the year, but as the year went on,
things change.
Things change. Well, and things are changing for us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We have another fundamental pattern change coming next week, so it's going to be considerably warmer overall. We're not going to see too many 60s next week, but we are going to see things warm up above freezing each and every day. We're going to see temperatures up into the 40s, and we're going to see a wetter time period. So we have a couple of chances of showers next week. It's going to feel more like early spring next week with temperatures in the 40s, your occasional 50-degree temperature, and no snow. So we got that going for us.
But we have the exchange of snow for rain.
Yes, and you know what they say, April showers. We're not in April yet, but you know what? We do need some rainfall. The soil moisture is very dry, and we need to recharge the soil moisture as we go into the spring. So really, at this point, we'll take any gentle rains we can get.
And snow doesn't recharge.
It does, but if you think about it, your average 10-inch snowfall, average. I mean, it does vary, but your average 10-inch snowfall only has about 1 inch of water in it. So it would take a lot of snow to bring us much moisture.
As much as we need.
As much as we need. And we've gone into the fall with a little bit of a deficit. My farmer friends are like going, I don't know what we're going to do this year. I'm like, hang on. We're not through spring yet. We'll be able to handle it. I think there's going to be some recharging rains coming our way, and it looks like that could start over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and so one of the other things that is changing as we kind of go from February this weekend into March is the daylight pattern too.
Oh, don't you love that? You know?
It's another one of those fickle questions.
Yeah.
Some people love it. Some people are like, we're just a few, what is it? Not this weekend, but next weekend
Yeah.
where the clocks turn?
You know, I was doing a radio program earlier today, and the folks I was doing the program with were kind of suggesting we make way too much of a big deal about this change, like how it wrecks your week and how it'll give you a heart attack. And one of the persons said, I just got back from a week in the Bahamas in a different time zone. That didn't give me a heart attack. I'm like, well, yeah, because you were in the Bahamas. You were kind of going the opposite way of a heart attack.
Right.
But, his point being, people fly around the country all the time. They're changing time zones. And we do get jet lagged. But, the point of these guys they were making was that, we're always trying to track down that one professor from the University of Pennsylvania that brings out the charts and goes, look how dangerous this is. And in reality, we're just going to bed a little later, or we're getting up a little earlier for that one day.
It does feel a little different, though. It just feels different.
It does feel different, and I think, and you're right. People do trend on either side of the lane there, but I don't think too many people complain about having a little extra daylight a little later in the evening. Because for me personally, there's nothing worse than getting dark around here at 4:15 in the afternoon.
I mean, it doesn't. And again, that's why these changes do kind of have an effect on you, because when it does go the opposite direction, then you're like, oh, man.
Whoa.
I mean, when I came to work, it was dark. When I left work, it was dark.
That reminds me of 7th grade. It was like that.
My goodness grief.
And it's important. At some point, we have to have a little bit of a time change, probably, because if we didn't, the sun would be up as early as, and I'm trying to do this off the top of my head, I think 4:20 in the morning in the summertime if we didn't shift the time around a little bit.
Wow.
So, to have...
The runners would love that. See, there's somebody for
There's
everything.
There's someone who gets up
would
at 4
love
o'clock,
that because there are people who are sitting and waiting for like a little glimpse of sunshine over the summer so that they can beat the heat to get out and run.
Right.
So if the sun were up, then you're like, oh, I can do it now.
Well, okay, to your point, a lot of construction workers, a lot of work is done early in the morning before the sun comes up. So that means now all of a sudden, you got to be to work on the job at 4:45 or 5 o'clock, which means you got to get up at 3:30 or whatever.
Look at these live pictures, though. I mean, we deserve more sun.
Yeah, well, yes, we do. Yeah, we do. It's funny, not to go too far down a rabbit hole, but I did see a study this week that suggested that sunshine is a great, and this is nothing earth-breaking, but it does statistically, in a very large way, eliminate a lot of disease.
Oh, yeah?
The one disease it didn't was skin cancer, but all other diseases other than skin cancer take a drastic reduction with the addition of sun. And they
Vitamin
looked
D.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which we know, if you ever go to the doctor, you can be the most healthy person, and if you're not getting enough, most people, even the healthy people, are not getting enough vitamin D.
Yeah. There are a lot of experts in the area that would say, for most people, we're not the experts, so we're not saying it's you need to go take it. But a lot of experts that you speak to say that pretty much everyone in Illinois is probably vitamin D deficient.
Well, part of the reason is because it gets so dark in the wintertime, too.
Yeah. An extended period of time with it just being a little dark longer, or just not having the sun around. But today, we've got the sun, everybody.
Yeah, and it's feeling good, and it's a great day. And you can go to the Bean and have a picnic.
Enjoy it while we have it, but keep that coat around.
A lot of very colorful, a lot of pretty colors in that picture there. Looks like a pastel, doesn't it? As we were looking at the lake and looking back at the city, a lot of pastels there.
Yes, a lot of pastels.
Looks like a French impressionist painting.
Okay, all right.
I'm trying to class up the place a little bit here with my, I was at the Art Institute once. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Let's take a 2-minute break, everybody. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, just about 3:15. Let me tell you a little bit about what else we're pulling into our last 45 minutes or so that we have here together on Chicago Live. So we know that one of Chicago's favorite foods is the hot dog, minus the ketchup. And there is a new place where you can get your dogs, and it's called the Doghouse. So we're going to pull in these new entrepreneurs into our discussion here on Chicago Live. Congratulate them for opening up their new place right along here on Michigan Avenue. Also, around 3:30, we're going to bring in one of our favorites over at the Adler Planetarium, as so many people are excited about the parade of planets that we hope to be able to get a view of, and we always get a little bit more information from them as to where we need to be, where we need to look, how much of a view we'll have, what could be an obstacle to getting that view. So stick with us for that. That should be around 3:30. But we're going to get into a discussion right now with one of our own. That is Casey Cronus. She is on a story today that really has a lot of people talking, and that is paying for parking at Rosemont for shopping. Casey, thank you so much for taking some time. I know you're hurriedly getting ready for the 4 o'clock, but the fashion outlets have been a place so many people go, so many people park to shop, but maybe they're like parking there for other things, and that this might cut that out.
That is exactly what the owners of the mall are hoping for. So to back things up, anyone who's been here, anyone who frequents the fashion outlets of Chicago in Rosemont knows that parking has always been complimentary. That is no more. Those days are over. The ownership group, the owners of the mall, it's a group named Macerich, they announced, and it is already in effect. It went into effect immediately, but there is now a new parking system that's being managed by Metropolis. So what'll happen now for shoppers is the first hour is free. Up to 3 hours is free if you get it validated after spending $100 at the mall, any store at the mall. And then after that, you will be charged. So let me pull up the rates here for you. So $20 for 3 to 12 hours, and then $50 for 12 to 24 hours. Now, if you're under the 3-hour threshold, but you didn't spend $100 at the mall and get it validated, it will still cost you $13. So how all of this is working, because we tested it out ourselves, is you drive into the mall. This is ticketless, this is gateless, and what you do is you have to scan a QR code. You scan that code, and then you have to put in all of your information, your name, your email address, your payment information, and then essentially they use license plate recognition technology to track how long you have been inside the parking lot. Now, Macerich, the ownership group, says they hope to discourage people from parking here to go to other events in Rosemont, parking here and then hitting the train and heading into the city or heading over to the airport. Apparently people were parking here overnight, all for free. That is no more.
So I guess, in a time when so many people do online shopping, for people who do go there to go shopping, are they concerned at all, the management group, are they concerned at all that this could cut into their bottom line if people feel like they're getting nickel and dime for things like parking, when they're actually kind of helping them to stay around as a brick and mortar?
The ownership group, in a statement to us, feels optimistic about the change, but I talked to the mayor of Rosemont, Brad Stevens, and he tells me that while they support the ownership group's decision, he is not completely sold that shoppers are ready for this, that shoppers should be charged in a suburb. He said he's not so sure that he's on board with this, but it was not up to the village. Ultimately, this is a private mall. It's up to the owners of the mall. We did talk to some customers, though, who told us They think it was a hassle. One person said it is ridiculous. One woman explained the process that she went through, and she said it was kind of complicated using the app, even though she's used this system before, but it still took several minutes to get everything loaded up. And then the gentleman we spoke with said he was trying to figure out how to get out, how to close out his parking session. So just still a lot of questions around how this will end up moving forward. Is will people get on board? You know, there wasn't anyone here in the lot assisting folks, and this just went into effect. So everyone is fending for themselves, trying to figure it all out. Perhaps it's something that people do get used to, like with any other changes. In the end, sometimes people get on board. Other times, the ownership group may decide, you know what, let's walk this back.
Is there some signage that tells people, hey, we've got a new policy?
There is signage. Yep, you'll see as you head toward any of the entrances to the parking garages, there's Metropolis signage. It says, you know, scan the QR code. So there is clear signage, but it is still a change. And, you know, think about the older shoppers too, who are not maybe the most tech savvy, and now they're fumbling around trying to scan a QR code, punching all their information in, because remember, this is ticketless. There are no tickets here. And you know what, Anita, we've got someone coming over to the car here. So hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Parking here? No, it's not free to park in here.
No, they're charging for parking now in the mall.
So I gotta go pay there?
Yeah.
Are you going to the mall?
Yeah, I'm going there.
You get
Yeah.
your car towed if you park here.
Yeah, you have to go inside and pay through their app. Okay.
So,
I have to continue here.
okay, go
Thank you.
Yeah.
See, Anita,
No, this was perfect, Casey. It was actually perfect because it underscores the confusion that people are going to have.
And we're across the street, actually, in the theater parking lot. They've been gracious enough to allow us to park here while we're doing our story. But someone just, you heard him, came over and said, can I park here to go to the mall? So there is confusion.
Yeah. Just kind of, I'm going to let you go because I know you've got to get ready for the 4, but did they consult with like any other... Is there another mall, another shopping, complex that has recently tried to do this after being around for a long time and did it successfully?
I know Macerich, the ownership group, does own multiple malls across the country. Whether or not they're using this exact format at their other malls, we're not quite sure, but they did tell us that the parking rates at this garage are comparable to other garages in the area.
Very interesting, Casey. Thank you so much. This is going to be I can only imagine, especially in a generation where you get immediate feedback on social media, that it's not going to be the old school people are calling. It's going to be people lighting them up on social media about their thoughts on this.
Lots of opinions for sure.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Wasn't that just perfect timing, everybody? Like, literally, here's somebody who is in the midst of trying to figure out, do I have to pay here? It's going to be confusing for a lot of people. And then you think, okay, is that going to slow people down? Will it turn people around? I just wonder. And I think it's like, almost anything, we were talking about the big construction projects around this time yesterday on I-80. Any major change, we talked about assigned seating for Southwest earlier in the broadcast. Any major change is going to come with it's like, what are you doing? At least in the beginning. Whether you can sustain it and it ends up being something that becomes second nature to everybody, we shall see. Only time will tell. But I think in the interim, it's going to be some angry people pulling up there who have not had to pay at the fashion outlets of Chicago and Rosemont before that are like, since when? Since now. Casey's going to have more on that again coming up at 4 o'clock. But let's get in a quick 2-minute break, everybody, and we'll proceed from here. right, everyone. Welcome back here to Chicago Live. It's 3:25 right now. We're going to take a look at a few things that we're monitoring both near and far right now. I'll start you off in Texas, where we know that President Trump is getting ready. Oh, look at that scene. So many people who are waiting for him to arrive. This is down in Corpus Christi, and there's so much to this particular stop for President Trump. He is expected to make this appearance about American energy dominance there in Corpus Christi, coming off the heels of his State of the Union address this week. So one of the kind of backstories and interesting things that people will be looking for at this particular rally that's happening in Corpus Christi is it's actually going to be the first time that the three candidates for Senate will all be in the same place together. I'm not sure why people are standing. I'm not sure if the president is literally walking in. They look like they're all looking in the same direction. But this is the only picture we have, so I'm going to go with it until we see someone actually take the podium. If he does walk up, we'll give him his time to speak. But yeah, this will be the first time that the three Senate candidates will be at the same event with President Trump. He has refused to actually endorse anyone in that Senate race. Now, there is the incumbent, Senator Cornyn, who has been around for a very long time, a very powerful politician there in Texas. There is Attorney General Ken Paxton, who is looking to unseat him. And honestly, they are running about neck and neck right now. And then there's also a third candidate in that race that seeing two people neck and neck, both of them have actually tried to attack the third person to knock him out to see if it could at least boost their chances at all. In Texas, someone has to get, I think it's 50% plus one. Okay, so 51% of the vote. And right now, no one has that. I think it's like 30, and then, maybe 16 or so from there. So it's a very interesting race to watch. Again, these are primaries, so think about March. Coming down to the line right now, it's kind of a messy race. The ads are all over the place. They've really gotten tense. And any one of those candidates would be facing ultimately either Jasmine Crockett, who is already a congresswoman who is running now for Senate, or Tallarico. And it's very interesting even in that side of the race as well for the Democrats as to which matchup are you looking for. And you just don't know right now. There's so much to it. You just don't know. But it's a very interesting race to watch. And again, on the Republican side, the president has decided not to endorse anyone. So they're going to continue to duke it out, but they'll all be in the same venue today, kind of looking for his blessing, because they think that one person having his endorsement might get the boost in that particular side of the race. So it's one to watch for sure, the Senate race down in Texas. Let's also take a look at things here at home. And of course, we know that this is day 2 of what will be many of people filing into the Rainbow Push headquarters to say their final goodbyes to the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. You can see on the right-hand side greeting people, that is Jesse Lewis Jackson Jr., former congressman. And on the left-hand side, that's actually Reverend Reginald Sharp, who was with us on Good Day Chicago first thing this morning. Speaking of the legacy that has been left, Reverend Sharp is the Chicago pastor for Reverend Jackson. He often called him a co-pastor because Reverend Jackson actually helped save Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church back in the 60s. Very historical significance there of Reverend Jackson bringing Dr. Martin Luther King, and you see that picture of Dr. King right behind the casket, Reverend Jackson, during the civil rights era, brought Dr. King here to Chicago, and the powers that be were very upset about him bringing Dr. King here to Chicago and him speaking there at Fellowship. So they actually held up, the banks here held up the loan process for Fellowship Baptist Church for 7 years, to keep them from being able to proceed with building their building, because people were so upset with Reverend Jackson for bringing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. here to Chicago. And so Reverend Jackson essentially said, this is coming from Pastor Sharp, that, hey, I got you into this mess, let me help get you out of it. And so he actually lobbied, got in there, fought the good fight, so that Fellowship could have the building that we see today in Fuller Park. So again, just a part of the lasting legacy of how Reverend Jackson fought for so many things in our area that we still owe him a debt of gratitude for today. Again, for the observances, the final observance here in Chicago for this week will be tomorrow there at Operation Push. Then they will take the body on to South Carolina, where people on the East Coast will be able to say their final goodbyes. They will take it on to Washington, D.C., before bringing him back here to Chicago, the place that he called home for so many years, the headquarters for Operation Rainbow Push, where they will have the People's Celebration next Friday, and then they will have a final farewell to Reverend Jackson next Saturday. So again, these moments here that we get to watch, history still in the making where it comes to Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. Prayers for his family right now. 3:32, our next guest is here on the line, and many stargazers are getting ready for quite the parade over the weekend. Michelle Nichols of Adler Planetarium is joining me. We always love having her here to have a better perspective of what people might be able to see and when they need to get out and gaze upon the sky. Thanks so much for your time. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It is always a pleasure to talk to you.
We love having you. So this is a 6-planet parade. Tell me a little bit about what we will see.
All right. So there are 6 planets that are visible in the sky, even tonight. They've been up all week long in the early evening. So we've got Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. However, here's the caveat. Uranus and Neptune, yes, they're going to be up in the sky, but you really have to point a telescope at them to be able to see them. So of the ones we can see with just our eyes, that would be Venus, Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter. So if you go out maybe around in the Chicago area around 6:15 p.m., face west, look really low to the horizon. You'll see a really bright dot, that's Venus, a little bit up and to the right, Mercury, a little bit up and to the left of Venus, Saturn, and over in the southeastern sky, Jupiter. And so tonight, if you go out, the moon will be there too. And honestly, it's looking kind of cloudy for tomorrow night. So I would go out tonight to be able to try to find these.
And see, that's why we come to you, because it's like, oh, it's a weekend event. Actually, you might want to go out tonight.
Right.
How often do we get this type of sighting, this type of alignment?
Yeah, it's actually a little bit more common than than the hype might suggest. So the last time we had this number of planets up in the sky in the evening, it was last August, and before then was June of 24. So it definitely happens. It's not an everyday occurrence. It's also not a one-day occurrence. So the planets have been visible all week. It's just Saturday got the notice because Mercury is in the mix, and after Saturday it's going to keep diving lower. So we're going to lose it in a few days. So that's why Saturday got a lot of notice, but it's been up for this week. So I'd say if it's going to be clear tonight, maybe go out and try to find these.
And where do we need to position ourselves?
someplace where you've got a clear view to the western horizon. So Venus, Mercury, and Saturn are going to be very low. So that means they're only going to be visible for a short while. So that's why that 6:15 time frame is good. Any much later than that, they're going to get too low and too dim, and then they're going to set. So so someplace where you can get a clear view to the west or get up a little bit above a regular street level, just someplace away from buildings and trees, wherever that might be. A nice open parking lot might be good.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, you talked about the things that are going away pretty soon, but there's also something that's on the way next week, March 3rd?
Yes. Yeah, we've got a total lunar eclipse. So that moon that you'll see tonight is going around the Earth. And then next Tuesday morning, it's going to pass through Earth's shadow in space. And so we call that a lunar eclipse. And when it fully gets into the shadow, that is a total lunar eclipse. And so that will be starting a little bit before 4 o'clock in the morning is when the moon will start to pass into the darker part of the Earth's shadow. That's a partial eclipse. Starting a little bit after 5 a.m. Tuesday morning, it'll be fully within the dark part of the shadow, and that's when we'll see if it will turn maybe a red color or a gray color, something like that. So it'll be in that dark part of the shadow for about an hour, and then it'll set after that. So the best time to go out and look will be about 4 a.m. to about 6 a.m. And again, look west. It'll get lower and lower, and then it'll set a little bit before 6:30 in the Chicago area.
Michelle, how many times do you think we're going to hear Total Eclipse of the Heart?
Can it be too many? It can't be too many. It's one of the greatest songs of the 80s. Come on. I never get tired of that song. So, it can't be too many times.
What are some other things on you all's calendar for the spring?
Yeah, so we have some fun spring break stuff going on. So come the week of March 23rd and the week after that, so those 2 weeks, March and first week of April, we've got bunch of moon-related stuff going on. So our Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon show is playing. Well, it plays every day, but you can come see it then too. Our Imagine the Moon show is playing. We've got activities about the moon happening out on the floor. If the weather is clear on those Wednesday nights, the 25th and April 1st, we have our observatory open. We've got telescope views of the moon. So it's just going to be an awful lot of fun. All moon stuff. So just come see us if you haven't been there in a while.
Okay, so we get excited about certain things, or we get hyped about certain things. Doing what you do for a living, I mean, clearly, you are very passionate about it all. But what still excites you? I mean, what are still some things where you're like looking on the calendar and you're like, oh, I have got to see that?
Honestly, it's whatever gets people out and looking up. I love hearing about these planet parades because I know that there is someone going, I've never had a reason to go look for planets, but this might be my reason. Or the full moon, or a lunar eclipse, or anything. Honestly, I get excited when other people get excited. Now, will I be up at 4 o'clock in the morning to see the lunar eclipse? Yes, I will. Yes, I will. It is absolutely super cool, and those don't happen too often. So yeah, I just get excited when other people are happy and looking up at the sky.
Since we are talking about the planets and the moon and things of that nature, what are your thoughts about NASA's announcement today that they're kind of revamping their Mars landing?
So the Artemis program to the moon has had a little bit of a revamp. So I actually am pretty positive about it because they've decided that the Artemis 3 mission will not be the moon landing attempt, that will be another test mission. I am always in favor of doing more testing to make sure that everything is ready to go, things work the way that they should, brand new equipment works the way it should. do all that before we actually go to the real moon. Because once you start doing that, there's kind of no going back. So, and trying to do these moon missions a little bit more often than they had planned, as long as the testing works well. So I am in favor of more testing. So the Artemis 2 mission coming up, that's getting me excited. So fingers crossed that happens in April. And then Artemis 3 test mission in 2027, Artemis 4, a potential moon landing in 2028. So yeah, we'll see how that all goes. It all depends on a lot of hardware that still needs to be built and tested. But that's how science works. That's how engineering works.
And you're so right that, hey, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So if it takes a little extra time, I know that wasn't the plan, but if it's the plan that keeps people alive, perfect. Yeah.
100%.
Thank you so much. Always love chatting with you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend. It's a 3:41, everyone. And make sure you look up. She said the time. You got about a couple more hours before you want to get out there. But she said today would be the ideal day to get out there around 6 p.m. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. 3:45 right now. Nothing more Chicago than a good hot dog, minus the ketchup. And we've got some new entrepreneurs here on Michigan Avenue that are serving you up hot dogs. In fact, it's Chicago's Dog House that's opening in the shops at Northbridge. Aaron Wolfson is joining me now. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on your station here. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, tell me about what you all are providing. I mean, yeah, hot dogs, but like, give me the real details.
All right, so we're obviously doing Chicago-style hot dogs. We have our signature exotic sausages like alligator sausage and our Wagyu, jalapeno, and cheddar banger. We have your classic Italian beef, Maxwell Street Polish. Just bringing, the Chicago-style flair to this lovely, magnificent mile. We're so happy to be here.
I see people already coming in to get a good dog. So tell me about the process to be there. Do you have other locations?
This is our third Chicago's Doghouse. Our original one is at Lincoln Park across from DePaul. And our second one is in Washington Hall at State of Washington. And this is our third Chicago's Doghouse. Here in the shops at Northbridge.
Why the shops at Northbridge? I mean, I think it's a beautiful building, and I love to see that more businesses are coming in. But why did you select there?
You know what? I think Michigan Avenue is coming back. I think this mall is coming back. People seem to be, the city is just alive more than ever since COVID. And for us, we want to be downtown. Our brand is really good for tourists and just people that love Chicago-style food. And we thought this was a good opportunity. And we love this mall. We love this area. We love Nordstrom's. I found this location actually shopping for my wife for Christmas. And I saw this spot and fell in love with the spot.
I hope every man just heard that. Like, the good things can come from shopping for your wife. I mean, that's what I got from what you just said.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. Let me ask you why you got in the business of hot dogs.
We opened up our first location in 2009 in Lincoln Park, 816 West Fullerton. We're actually going through a complete makeover there. Brand new renovation. It's going to be beautiful. And I got into it. I grew up in Chicago. I grew up in Lakeview, Lincoln Park area. Went to St. Pat's High School. Grew up on Chicago food. Just love a good Chicago-style hot dog. I love making food, working with food, and it was just fitting for what I wanted to do with my career. And it's been going, pretty good for 19 years. We're do Taste of Chicago and Lollapalooza and all the street festivals, and it's been a process, but we're here now, and we got a beautiful little nook in this corner of Michigan Avenue, and we're glad to be here.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I always like to ask entrepreneurs is to maybe pull the curtain back on the hard work that all of that took. 19 years is nothing to sneeze at, and you're still building. You're still building.
Oh, yeah.
But you've clearly gone through a lot. I mean, when people see you, especially on Michigan Avenue, they're like, "Oh, you've made it." But talk a little bit about the journey.
There's a lot of ups and downs for sure. It wasn't an easy road. COVID wasn't easy. But it brought some opportunity after COVID. Coming here, this was a very busy mall before COVID, and we want that to come back. And I see the potential and opportunity for it to be a thriving place to do business. It was a struggle. It was a struggle. It's not an easy road opening up your own business, but it's definitely rewarding, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's great to see. It's great to see us here still. After 18, 19 years.
Well, congratulations on all the success. I hope there are 18, 19 or more years to come.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. And we love Chicago. We love Chicago, and we want to create a brand here that is Chicago. And Chicago's Doghouse, it's Chicago food.
You're making me hungry. Thank you.
Look at that beautiful Chicago dog in the background. It's beautiful there.
It's looking great. It's looking great. Yeah, I'm a little jealous of the folks who are sitting behind you. Thank you so much. Again, congratulations. Best of luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And again, if you aren't familiar with the shops at Northbridge, that's around the 500 block of North Michigan. Great location. Hope that they do very well in that location. It's 3:50. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. $3:53, everybody. And before we let you go, we want to take a look at how things have shaped up for the last day of the work week on the stock. Ooh, on the stock market does not look good right now. You can see where things closed. It has been a week of a lot of volatility. You know, the beginning of the week, we saw it kind of start off in the green, took that quick dip into the red, and it stayed that way for the rest of the day on Monday. By Tuesday, we were seeing some positivity, more green on the screen on Wednesday. This is not the way you want the week to end. So, yeah, all of the major indices are seeing some issues today, or have seen. You know, things have closed for the day, but the Dow dropping 521.28 points. S&P 500 closing down 0.43%. NASDAQ Composite losing 0.92% today as well. So I'm seeing that this is about growing fears about the impact of artificial intelligence, which we know is just very it's an area of concern in so many different industries right now, and also about the overall economy. You know, that there are fears about the overall economy right now, which is interesting because coming off of the State of the Union address, so State of the Union address was Tuesday night. By Wednesday, we were actually seeing some positivity there. So still, though, this is where we've ended the week now. Federal Reserve saying inflation isn't over yet, still not solved yet. that there's just more uncertainty around which way policy is going to go for the remainder of the year. And that there are that whenever we see uncertainty, it usually points to fluctuation and volatility for the markets. Challenger Green Christmas, we often talk to them here on the show. Some of their representatives, they reported earlier this month that layoffs in January had hit their highest total for that month since the global financial crisis. So again, lots of uncertainty as to where we go from here. I know that we're going to be looking for some more key indicators in the month of March. I believe that the Federal Reserve will be meeting again in March. So this just isn't the way we want to go into March, that this is the way things closed out for the month of February, but this is where we are. Again, all of the major indices not showing a good thing as we close out the week here and look toward the month of March when we start up next week. But this is where we are. All right, 3:56. Let's take a quick break and we'll be back to close out the show. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for being here with us all week. We certainly appreciate you tuning in, whether you're on Fox Local, Fox32Chicago.com, or on YouTube. We appreciate you just spending a little time in the afternoons with us. We're going to send you to First at 4, and I hope that you have a safe, prosperous weekend. I'll see you back here at 1 on Monday.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
Now at 4, we continue to remember Reverend Jesse Jackson. Thousands getting together once again to say goodbye as he lies in repose.